this. Let's put this on stream. This is fan art from somebody named Lawgiver. I showed some fan art from him on not fan art for the stream, but he did like a custom drawing a for the Gordoverse, I think, where it was like a diagram of all the associations of the Gordoverse. And it was cute. I showed it on my stream, and he was very happy about it. So when the 4chan hack thing happened, he went out of his way to make some fan art for like a segment banner for this. And I said, I will use this because it's the only appropriate time to use something like this. And as I mentioned, art is downstream from culture. If you don't have art, you don't have culture. I received, after I said I would use this, a letter from a viewer who may be listening, hello, who said that she was going to stop supporting me in my endeavors as a combination of things. One, I timed out a user for 7 days for getting into a slap fight. Two, I opened the VTuber board. Three, I have been handling the 4chan thing by being welcoming to people who want to start posting on the Kiwi Farms. And the final straw, I said that I would use this on my stream. And she said that my appeal is that I don't enable man children who watch anime shit. And I find that very offensive and frustrating because the Kiwi Farms is small. The Kiwi Farms is a very small site. And we are beset by very big enemies who are well funded. And we cannot survive as a small site. We need as many people to like us as possible so that when shit happens to us, we don't get the Internet Archive treatment of, ha ha ha, you fucking deserve it. We need everybody to be like, this is a place that really does want to grow and to accommodate people. And as I've mentioned, the LiveTuber people have always been good with my requests. And this image in particular is a reference to something that is funny to me and is like a throwback to things that I care about because I was on 4chan as a teenager. If you don't know, 4chan was hacked. And when it was hacked, the guy had access to everything. And he basically had administrator access. He did a lot of stuff that I'll cover, but he had access to the Hiroyuki admin account. And he also set up QA. If you don't know, a long time ago, when Hiroyuki first bought 4chan, he set up a board called Q&A because one of the big complaints that 4chan had at the time is that there was no communication between staff and users. Users felt bullied by the moderators. Their opinions weren't being heard. There was no changes that they wanted to see be done. So Hiroyuki tried to set out on a good foot forward and open Q&A to accommodate what should be very obvious, that you need a place to communicate with the people who run the thing that you use. So he set it up. And then he abandoned it around 2019. And after he abandoned it, and after all mods stopped using it and communicating with users, it became a cesspit of shit posting, in particular of Wojak memes that became Soy Jacks. And when they shut down QA because it was just this cesspit of fucking Soy Jacks, that was like a cyst bursting or cancer metastasizing, and it became the Soy Jack party. Years later, one of the Soy Jack party users hacks 4chan, opens the QA board, says QA fucking won, shuts down the LGBT board on 4chan, completely deletes it before, and then leaks out everything that was on the almost everything that was on the server. And in particular, they posted on the QA a song, and they posted a picture of Hatsune Miku dancing. And I thought that this was really endearing because the song is like some Tuhu music. And then Hatsune Miku is like one of the most normal fag anime characters ever. And it just felt so 2000s to me. Like if 4chan had gotten hacked in the 2000s, this is exactly what they would do. It was very, very endearing. And I warmed up to the Soy Jack people a lot. And on both the 4chan thread, I put the same GIF that was on the page and the song that was on the page onto the top of the thread. Because it was just, it's like fucking memories for me. The site and the way that it was done and what they chose to put on it was just like, I know this. I've lived through this and shit. So I was very enamored by this. I thought it was funny. And but in regards to the VTuber board, one of the VTubers that's like one of the most prominent lolicon VTubers, Shondo, was phone booked for the first time. And that is the direct result of people on that board and in the forum not being content with lolicon culture from 4chan. And if you don't know who Shondo is, by the way, I played this on stream once. I'll play it for you again because I think that you should hear it.
I don't know. I know that if a guy tried to rape me, I would probably get raped. I'm not very strong, you know. I'm kind of defenseless. I'm just a weak little girl. There's not too much I can do. It's not exactly a choice, okay?
By the way, in case you're wondering, if there's any doubt about what this character is going for, she has a way to edit her character to have a literal fucking pacifier in her mouth. So let's not mince words. Let's not pretend that this isn't what it is, because it is. And I've heard people try to say that's her real voice. If you think that's her real voice, you are a fucking mark. You are put on this earth to be bilked for your fucking money by people smarter than you. Because, no, she does not sound like that. And by the way, this is also one of Gator's Oshis. Shout outs to Gator. Gator, I'm sorry, Gator. It happened again to your Oshis, Gator. Whoops. And then, by the way, the only people who would ever choose the Kiwi Farms over alternative image boards are people who are either A, looking for something safe for work, or B, looking for something without lolicon explicitly. Because even in the VTuber board, it's explicit. You cannot have any kind of lolicon VTubers. Like they just don't belong in the board. And I can prove to you that 4chan people looking for a place to post won't come to the Kiwi Farms because this is a website that's managed by Mark Mahan. Mark Mahan is the Jewish guy that owned a V on 8chan when I worked with 8chan. Mark is extremely Jewish. He basically looks like a fucking goblin. He looks like one of the bankers from Harry Potter. And everyone hated him when he ran V on 8chan. But running V on 8chan was basically his only thing that he's ever done in his entire life. So when 8chan went to shit, he reached out to me when I started 9chan to try and move his community over to a different V or set up like a backup or something. But he had two conditions. The first was that he must have V. I was going to have a rule that any user-owned board must be 4 letters or longer to distinguish it from official managed boards. He insisted that he would have V, and that he would manage it exclusively by himself with no oversight. And I told him, I said, look, if you're going to have one of the official boards on my website, I have to have some opinions over it. And the second thing that Mark wanted from me was lolicon. He said that there must be lolicon on V. It must be a not safe for work board that allowed lolicon explicitly. Because at the time I was going to try and quarantine lolicon to its own board so that it wouldn't, it wouldn't drive off people wanting to use the site and not see that shit. So he had an issue with that. And I just said no. I turned him away. He offered to bring all of his users from 8chan over to 9chan if I would agree to that. And I told him no. So he moved to a different fork of 8chan. And now that 8chan's dead and 4chan's down, as you can see, it had 140 posts per hour on the day before the hack. Then it skyrocketed to 1,600. Then it hit 4,000. And then yesterday it was at 4,500. So all the people who want a place for lolicon and for porn, they went over there to be under Mark. They did not come to the Kiwi Farms. Because why would they? I don't want a pornographic website. So this person, it's just so frustrating to me. I gave people their own space. I gave her their own space. I gave the women the board that they moderate basically under their own rules that no other area on the site is under. I gave people who abide by my rules elsewhere their own space. And then when people come over and they're interested in a site that doesn't have lolicon on it, I gave them space too. And I entertained it because, number one, it's my people. I know these people. I posted on 4chan for years. And it's just so frustrating that someone's going to be like, actually, I am withdrawing my support of you because you stuck by your principles, the way that you treat everybody. So that really dowered my entire mood. I felt like I should address it. I don't want to run an image board, but if there are good people who want to come over and post on the forum, we need that. We need as much fresh blood as we can. We need support. We need popular support. We need people to not hate us. We need somebody somewhere to not fucking hate us so that when the hammer drops, we have some kind of defense chat. Frustrating. Anyways, so as part of the leak, Now that I've spent my entire half just complaining about that. For the most part, the 4chan people have been great, but I've banned only like three people for being rape fugees. Everybody else, completely fine, no issues whatsoever. The hack included the source code, by the way, and the source code for 4chan is decrepit. The entire site operates through an imageboard.php that is 10,403 lines long, and there is probably code in here that has not been touched since like 15 plus years ago. Probably actually all the way back to when what is it? It's like Futaba, when Futaba was rewritten into 4chan. Like in the early 2000s. I would bet you fucking money there's stuff that has not been changed since those days. In fact, probably if I had to guess, the algorithm for the basic trip code probably has not changed since Futaba in the 2000s, at least. So that was shocking. And the big issue with this is that if the site was hacked, it's down. It's still down to this day. And if there are other exploits in this code, anyone can find them now. This code has not been reviewed. It's not been open source. It hasn't had any kind of oversight into how it runs. So if they find more exploits in the code, then the site will be hacked again. So they're in a really difficult place where they basically have to audit a 20-year-old PHP file that's 10,000 lines long to try and head off any attacks that are definitely being researched. There's already people for sure that are looking into how 4chan works to try and find a way to break into it as soon as it goes back up. So they're in a really bad position. And additionally, all the janitor emails were leaked. All the janitors and mods had their emails leaked. So they, people have been looking into it as they do. Surprise, surprise. There are literal Janny trannies. I know that TV is really popular. I know that TV in particular really fucking hates their mods. I'd like to introduce you to E7711, aka SK. She, beautiful woman, of course, is one of your mods. And if you've ever been a 3-day ban from TV, there's a non-zero chance that this was the person who actioned it. So all the suspicions of Janny trannies is in fact confirmed. And hopefully they can recover, because as it turns out, there was a private board called J that was for the janitors. And here's a nice little post about mental health check by anonymous janitor. Hello, everyone. I understand that we've all been janitors and moderators for a varying amount of time, but I also want to acknowledge that we are all in this together for the site and the users. This post is to represent something that I want to put out there for everyone. How is your mental health? I understand that we are exposed to the most abhorrent nonsense users have to offer, and I want to make sure that everyone is doing okay. Sometimes the stuff posted on the site can get to a person, myself included, with things in their personal life and all that, and that get posted online. Recently in my life, there have been a lot of changes, like moving away from family and friends and adjusting to a new way of life. A new way of life, huh? What kind of life? So what I ask of you is, how are you doing? So the Jannies doing mental health checks on each other, as they do. Because after all, they're loved and adored by their users. Rape Ape, who uses the handle Grape Ape now, because if you don't know, Rape Ape was like an old slur for a black person on B, way back when. From my understanding, Rape Ape has been one of the core maintainers of 4chan since the moot days. Even when I used 4chan, I never cared about the staff, so I never paid attention. But from what I understand, he's been around for a long time. And he's probably the closest person to a person who understands how the site actually works. So Rape Ape actually sent out a big email to all the moderators, basically letting them know that they got fucked, that he completely fucked them. I think he even mentions the forum at some point. Yeah, here. Odds are the contents of this email will be posted on Shardy and Kiwi Farms shortly after I send, but I don't care. If they want to make fun of me for appreciating the 4chan team, they can go right ahead. I think you're all wonderful, but I don't care who knows. I think there's a word. Here we go. This is just delusional. 4chan's users might not show it openly, but I know they appreciate what you do as well. I think they'll appreciate you even more when 4chan returns, as now they've had a time to feel 4chan's absence, and absence makes the heart go fonder. If this is fucking real, And I guess there's a chance it's not. This is the most delusional fucking thing I have ever fucking written. In fact, when people go back to 4chan, they're going to fucking hate the Jannies more than they've ever hated Jannies in their entire life. Because right now, these people are getting shock therapy. They're being dumped into sites that don't treat them the way that 4chan's moderators routinely treat all their users. So now they're going to go back to 4chan, having experienced what it's like to be on a site, regardless of where they go, where they have a little bit more leeway. And they're going to have utter fucking contempt for any people that give them automatic 3-day bans. And there's so much, like, if you put me in position, and by the way, my rate, if Hiroyuki wants me on this, and I can do it, I'm the best. I have the experience, and I have, in terms of coding, servers, networking, user management, I can do it all. My rate, I started at $144,000, and I want a percentage of the pass income. Here's what I would do. Number one, I would fix all this shit. I can do it. Number two, fire all the Jannies, including Rape Ape. He sucks. This letter is embarrassing, and it takes no accountability. Number three, reduce the minimum ban time from 3 days to like an hour. Almost never is a 3-day ban warranted. And number four, unban all the IPs that are permanently fucking banned, because it's almost impossible to use the site. Like, everything is fucking banned. And just doing that, just let people post for a while. And then number four, by the way, integrate photo DNA or Cloudflare's CSAM detection. And that would solve a lot of your issues. I could do it. But I'm going to be paid a lot of money for it, is my thing. But no, just if they try to just go back to the way things were, I don't know if the site can survive that. I mean, I guess it will, because the main thing with 4chan, as I've discovered, is that people on 4chan, they don't use it like a forum. Like, you might think that there's boards, and those are like allegories for forums, and then they have threads, and you might think that those threads are allegories for like forum threads, but they're really not. The way that people use 4chan is a chat room. They go into a chat room that's dedicated to a topic, and that thread, like a thread on the forum, is very much a thread about that topic. And people who stray too far off topic are shunted back on topic. Off topic stuff is deleted, and people might get thread banned. On 4chan, they don't really have that. So if they want to talk to the same people, they can't just red rover together to a different thread and discuss it where it's more on topic, because it's anonymous. So they just stay in these generals. And there was a thing I remember, like I think it was in VG, where they had a Homestuck general, and it was like 20 people, and they basically just, like, Homestuck is a dead franchise. There's no content updates, but they had been posting in the Homestuck general for like 15 fucking years. Because from my understanding, like, it was a very long running comic series. So people would make generals about it. They would talk about it. And those same people have been talking to each other about Homestuck for a decade or more. And they don't know each other. They're anonymous. So they just post in the one general thread over and over again. And then, of course, they keep doing that once the content runs out, because those are their friends. They like each other. They like talking to each other. And then the Jannies, they get uppity about this, and they go, these people are just, they're just using it like a chat room, and the thing's dead, so we're going to delete it. So they banned the Homestuck general thread, and those people, just like the QA Shardy people, chimp the fuck out and shit up the entire fucking site for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it's like, that's what happens when you don't understand how people use your site. They don't use it to discuss Homestuck. They use it to talk to each other, because they've talked to each other for 15 fucking years about Homestuck. That's why. And yeah, and it's frustrating to see how it's managed and how they don't understand their product, basically. So fuck the Jannies is what I'm getting at. It is still down to this right now, even. And my theory is that it's going to stay down for a very long time, maybe weeks, because I don't think anybody on Earth knows how to actually install 4chan on a server from scratch and bring it up. Like, not off the top of their head. Like, if you shut down the Kiwi Farms and deleted the server that the Kiwi Farms is on, it would take me maybe 6 hours to get it entirely set back up 100% again. And that's from scratch, because I've done it multiple times, and I know how everything works, and I can do it, in an evening. I don't think anybody has ever done that to 4chan. I don't think anyone has ever reinstalled 4chan. And my base is off this. The guy that hacked the site posted a screenshot of the bash, the console, showing that the hacker had obtained root. And it's running FreeBSD, which is pretty base. Running FreeBSD is pretty base. I got to give it to Moot, because Moot was the one who installed it when he owned the site 10 years ago. But Hiroyuki, ever since then, has apparently not done that. And what's a shocker is that if you look up the version that they're using, FreeBSD 10.1, when software is released, they give it a life that they're going to maintain it. They promise you that they're going to maintain it and give it upgrades and security updates for however many years. FreeBSD reached end of life in 2016, and it last received a security patch in 2019. And what's even more shocking than that is that they use something called Ghostscript. Ghostscript is a tool for managing PDF files. And there were 3 different boards that nobody uses on 4chan that use PDFs. PDFs are notoriously dangerous. Notoriously dangerous. If you do any PDF processing on a server, you have to isolate that shit. You have to run it in fucking Docker all by itself, because it's just it's the biggest piece of shit, and everyone fucking knows this. I think even 8chan got hacked at some point through a PDF exploit in the exact same way. The version of Ghostscript that they used to process PDF files to generate thumbnails was updated last in 2012. A 13-year-old version of one of the most dangerous components of any kind of media processing system. That is how fucking out of date it was. Nobody on 4chan knows how the fuck it works. So they're going to take forever to not only figure out how the software works, figure out how to reinstall it, figure out how to reset it up, because they have to. You cannot fix the server. You have to reformat it from scratch. And supposedly they have new hardware that they're already setting up. So they're going to have to set up the hardware, choose an operating system, and then if there's any discrepancy between the way that Moot had it set up and whatever shit that he was doing to get it working and FreeBSD, they have to translate that to Linux. Then they have to reinstall the database. Do they keep database backups? Are we going to see 4chan completely wiped back to zero? Do they remember the last post numbers of all the boards? Are those going to be lost? Surely there's a backup somewhere, but there's no promise of that. So who knows? Then what about the static content? Is that lost? They're going to have to set that up again. Then they're going to have to find any exploits that are in the code itself that could be exploited that don't rely on Ghostscript, because now any kind of actual server-side exploit that doesn't rely on a third-party application like Ghostscript is going to have to be patched. How long is that going to take? It could take weeks. And they could bring it back up and it could be immediately hacked again. So they're really in a terrible position. This is very unenviable. This is a fucking nightmare. And it's not even like a nightmare as a result of like an oversight. It's a nightmare as a result of like over a decade of complete inaction. And it's just bizarre. And I think that's all I have to say about that. There was a rumor that there were .gov janitor emails. That's not the case. The only thing that I saw that was suspicious was that there was one janitor who had the email address with the name Shitwood in it. And if you're a 4chan user, you know that Mike Shitwood was a law enforcement officer in Florida who actually subpoenaed and arrested 2 different 4chan users for posting threats against him. So I don't know. I think it's just a coincidence, though. I think that they've looked it up, and Mike does not have a son with that name. But it's very coincidental that there was a guy called Shitwood who was on the moderator team. There was not a government email. I saw the list of email addresses. There was not a .gov. It was just a rumor. And then the hacker said that he was not going to release any payment information or anything about the pass holders. So any pass owners, I guess, are safe from having data leaked. He said that he was like afraid of if he leaked any kind of information about that, it would become like a serious FBI investigation for like a financial crime. So he's trying to avoid that, basically. There is .edu. If you have a list that has gov on it, You have downloaded that list from a third party that added it. I have seen the original leak. There is no .gov. And then, oh, he leaked also a bunch of little extras. And one thing I saw that stood out to me was that in the CAPTCHA generation code, there was there were API endpoints, so it's hard to see how it integrated, but there were API endpoints to add fake letters to the CAPTCHA, and it made me suspicious that they had it set up where if you were like discouraged but not banned, it would add fake letters to your CAPTCHA to make the CAPTCHA impossible to solve, and that's how they would like silently ban people through frustration. I don't know if that's true. That's my suspicion, but that is I did see it. They have that in the system. Oh my god, people in chat saying I knew it. That's funny. I'm glad that I've confirmed some suspicions. Yes, the Janny trainings are adding you to the secret broken CAPTCHA list. 100% true. That is so funny. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that that was like a meme on 4chan because I just looked at the code. I'm like, that's weird. They have a way to add fake letters. That's bizarre. Now I know. Apparently, it's a real thing. Conspiracies are never wrong. It doesn't look that way. Okay. Okay, let me take a big sip of water. And if I missed anything, now's your chance to shout it in chat in regards to the 4chan thing. Any kind of questions as my experience of an admin either. Will Moot come back? No. Moot despises 4chan. He's super lefty now. Is 4chan coming back soon? No, it's not. A nerd explanation on a noob level? I think I did. Just in general, they were using really outdated software and it made it super easy to exploit it through negligence, basically. I think, as I said, I don't think 4chan is dead. I think that it might lose a lot of its momentum because I don't think that anybody involved in 4chan has the gumption to make the changes that it really needs. And the user base that exists on 4chan are very loyal to it, in part not because they're loyal to the site, but as I mentioned, their friends are anonymous people that post in certain generals that they find like the reason why certain threads are comfy to people, like that word gets thrown around, oh man, I love the XYZ general because it's so comfy. The reason why it's comfy is that you've posted there and you get along with the people there, and even though you don't know who they are, you're friends with them in an indirect way. And that's why threads become uncomfy when you get the shitzoids, because those are people that, if they were on the Kiwi farms disrupting a thread, they would be thread banned for being a nuisance, and then the comfiness would return. But you can't coordinate, you can't move to a Discord with those people, you can't you can't find each other. So a lot of people are going to go back to generals, I think, as soon as the site's back up because they need each other. Not that they need each other, just they're friends, and that's normal behavior. A lot of people are like sad that, like, even people who use the forum regularly are sad because they like their certain generals. In particular, if I had my choice, chat, if I had my choice, my pick of the litter, in the business, Biz was my favorite board before the Pajits took it over. I would love to see PMG move over to the Kiwi farms. Check it out. Check it out. If you like gold and silver, and you like meme coins, well, you know what? I've made my own meme coins. I've gone around Europe to different flea markets buying all the rice schmucks that I can possibly find. I now have a literal fucking treasure chest. If you think that's based, come on over. You're very welcome. Regardless of what certain people negging me in my own email before my stream have to say about it. Show the clink. Oh man, I put the box away. Sorry. Here, you know what? Just for the shill, chat. Just for the shill, real quick. Real quick, chat. 1 second. There. Okay. Let's shake it around just a little bit. Here. Ugh. On the first layer, I have nothing but junk. Actually, I don't have just junk. I have some silver there too. I used to just have junk stuff, but now I have silver. Let's see. Get a nice little ting. What is this? Oh, this is a single. This is a half Reichsmark, basically the size of a dime in the U.S. from the Kaiserreich, not the 1913, so World War I era. Let's see if I can ting this very gently, chat. Ah, I dropped it. I dropped it into felt though. It's okay. Turn off the limiter. And I'm going to use, this is 2 francs from Switzerland, 1964. Too small. Let's get a bigger one. Okay, this is Frei und Hansestadt Hamburg from Dreimark. Dreimark is very rare. They didn't make many 3s. And this is 1912. This is older than the other one. This is beautiful. I didn't realize how nice this one is. I don't want to ting this one. It's too nice. Let's take this nicely tarnished 5 Reichsmark from the war. And oh yeah, that's the good stuff. You hear that? That's the good stuff, chat.
Thank you for watching this clip. This is Perspicacity. Remember to like and subscribe.